Hi, my name is Jeremy Floyd, 32-year-old. I just turned 32 years old actually a couple weeks ago. Originally from the south side of Chicago, now living in Minnesota. Actually moved here in 2009. And the purpose for my video is to create a GoFundMe page to actually help me raise funds for furthering my education. I'm a big believer. This video, I don't so much want it to be about what I'm asking for, but more so why. I've learned in my life and my 32 years that people are more drawn to why you do what you do versus what you do. Just to get into the story, I'll explain that January this year, I checked myself in the Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge. Mainly it's just because I was having issues with alcohol and drugs, and people close to me, they knew I was using, but not really to the extent in which I was using. I thought I was doing a really good job hiding it, but obviously not, because I got a DUI. I woke up 2 hours away from my house in a bathroom with my head against the stall. I remember the lady who worked at the gas station about to call the police on me. So it's just a lot of stuff like that that was happening that was eye-opening, because I'm like, I have to make a change. So it was definitely one of the hardest decisions in my life, but it was one of the best. I think it's the first 2 days I was there, all I did was cry, which is weird. I mean, you imagine, I'm not weird, but I'm 6'5", 240, so imagine me crying like a little baby. But it was, oddly enough, I felt the most free that I ever felt in my life. And the reason why I say that is because of some of the things that have happened in my life, like my brother passing away, or experiencing abuse, being homeless, going through different parts of my life when I didn't see my parents. Like, I quickly learned through those situations that I couldn't really show any other emotion than anger. And everybody knows anger is it was just fear. I was just masking fear. Especially, I think the biggest thing was when my twin brother passed. But while I was in Teen Challenge, especially for those two days, I was able to just cry, and it was like I was able to just meet my emotions head on. I didn't have to be strong or pretend to be strong. I could just feel like a little kid, because I acknowledge the fact that, yeah, I'm 32, but mentally I wasn't at that point, and I'm still growing, I'm still learning. And so even though it was the hardest decision, it was the best, and especially with crying. When you're in a place like that, people are introducing themselves to you, and so the worst thing to do when you're trying to hold your tears in, the worst thing that can happen is someone trying to talk to you, because that just makes you cry more. But while I was in Teen Challenge, I did a lot of thinking. I just did thinking in terms of my legacy and what I'm leaving behind for my daughter, and just what was I doing, and I felt like it was nothing. I know a lot of people, and a lot of people know of me, and I know people would say that I'm a good guy, and I believe I'm a good guy. But at that point, it's like I didn't know who I was. I felt like untapped potential. That's like, imagine if you saw LeBron James. For everybody who knows what basketball is, imagine you saw LeBron James walking down the street, and let's say he didn't play basketball at all. As big as he is, you would look at him and be like, this dude got to play basketball, only to find out that he works at some call center for T-Mobile. You would probably be looking at him like, why? You should not be in a cubicle, you too big. Not that there's anything working in the call center. I've worked in the call center before. Not that there's anything wrong with T-Mobile. I actually have T-Mobile. But I just did a lot of thinking. And actually, a month before I went into rehab, I had a conversation with my friend Sean Gordon, who we went to school. I went to school with him, and he kind of introduced me to real estate. And it kind of sparked my interest, because I did have some familiarity with real estate. I worked for a big bank for several years, in which I did home equity loans, home equity lines of credit, and home refinances. So I had familiarity with real estate from that standpoint. And I do have friends other than my college friend who have invested in real estate and make a lot of money. So I just knew in rehab, I remember thinking to myself, I have to build something. I didn't necessarily know what that meant, but I knew I needed to do something for myself, because I was just sick of it. I didn't have anything. I had given my time to alcohol. I had given my time to jobs, and you need a job, but I had nothing to show for it. And so I remember I graduated. I'm a proud graduate, I must say, of the short-term program. So I actually graduated on February 14th, Valentine's Day of this year. Um, And today is actually May 10th. So in 7 days from today, May 17th, I'll actually be 120 days sober, which I'm really excited about. But when I graduated from their short-term program, my plan was to find a job, put in applications, things like that, which I have been doing, and to also I went to a short-term program at another facility in Minneapolis. Um, and I know I needed money because obviously I need money for gas, and so I revised my resume. I put it out. I'm going to job fairs, going to these career sites like Indeed.com, going on to actual employers' websites, and nobody has called me back. And this has happened to me a few years ago, and I got discouraged to the point where I gave up looking for a job, and it led to me being homeless. And at that time, I was drinking a lot more. And it's funny, isn't it always funny how alcoholics say they ain't got no money, but they always got money to drink? I was definitely one of those people. And so I got real discouraged, but I refused to get discouraged this time because drinking and drugs is not an option. And so I started thinking to myself, like, okay, I'm doing what I can do. What else can I do? And I started thinking back to me wanting to build something of my own. So I started doing research on real estate. And I'm realizing in that research, I know that that's where the wealth is. I heard Oprah Winfrey say one day that she made a lot of money doing TV, but she acquired most of her wealth through real estate. And you think about Oprah saying that. Think about it. This is the Oprah show was on for so many over 10 years. Not only that, she has the O Network. That's a network that she owns. But for her to still say that she made a lot of her money in real estate says a lot. So I started to do my research and I started to see that it's something that I can do. But more than anything, it gave me the opportunity to realize that I can actually own something. And it kind of helped change my perception because I realized that the wealth is in the ownership. And so I have I'm working on building my own instead of soaking and getting down, still putting out resumes, but I'm building this. And so I came across an opportunity to be educated. Education is a lot. Knowledge is a lot. Even God says in the Bible, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. Out of all the things that we can perish from, is from the lack of not knowing. And so, in education, obviously, can open a bigger platform, but with the education is obviously cost. And the cost is $7,000. And, if you really, hindsight's 2020, if you really think about it, $20,000, $7,000 isn't a lot of money, excuse me. Especially if you find a lot of people who are willing to give a little, that adds up. And also allow me to explain why I want to get into real estate. There's a lot of money in it. But to even give a backstory, so when I first moved to Minnesota in '09, I was homeless. And I'm one of those people where I don't mind the physical effects of things. I just don't like the mental aspect. So imagine getting the flu. Some of the symptoms of getting the flu is you get a fever, runny nose, sometimes you puke and other stuff. I hate mentally being sick. So what I would do when I was homeless, just to keep my mind right, I would ride the light rail during rush hour in the morning time and the daytime. And mind you, I'm new to Minnesota. I didn't know they had that. I think it's a $179 fine if you get caught riding without a ticket. And by the grace of God, I never got caught. But I remember I would just ride just to keep my mind in that mindset because I figured if I couldn't find a job, let me be around people. And I remember I'll never forget how I'll never forget how I felt about people looking at me. And obviously I was homeless, so I wasn't able to take a shower, so I did smell. But I remember just people looked at me like I was less than nothing. And for me, that hurt because I know who I am. I know, and people who know me know who I am. I'm a funny guy, I like to have fun, extremely passionate about the things that I believe in. And I remember at that moment, I made up my mind and I said, I kind of prayed to myself and was like, God, if I ever get out of this situation, I will spend the rest of my life helping people. And so a lot of times when some people think about real estate, they think about being the hot shot and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with having a nice car. There's nothing wrong with having a nice home and being able to go on vacation. I'd be a liar if I told you I didn't want those things out of life. I do. But my purpose and my plan for getting into real estate is to use my money to help other people. Because I know how it feels to wake up in the morning and not believe in yourself. I know how it feels to doubt yourself. I know how it feels to have this potential inside of you, but you don't know how to get to it. I know how it feels. And the thing is, you ever notice whenever we go through something as people, sometimes the first thing we do is start thinking that we're the only ones going through. And sometimes that's the one thing that keeps us from getting free is the belief that we're the only ones going through this situation. And so I realized I'm not. And so not only will I use my wealth that I acquire in real estate to help obviously pay my bills on times and do things like that, but I'm going to use it for my real passion is for to go into to start a for-profit organization, to be able to go and talk to the homeless, to be able to go into shelters, prisons, correctional facilities, drug centers, to deal with people who are mentally challenged. And the reason why these are the groups of people, and there's more, but these are the groups of people that society tends to shun. And I've been one of those people before. I've seen homeless people, and I'm guilty of it. I didn't think about who that person was. I would just define them by their current situation. And my job, and what I'm realizing, and one of the great things about Teen Challenge is it made me realize that my task on this earth is to help people, and that's what I want to do. Is I want to teach, but I also understanding in teaching, I first have to be able to go and do what I'm teaching to be able to have influence. And so again, if just think about it like this, because the money, obviously I'm going to use this money to help my family and myself, but also this money will be going into pouring into other people. So just remember that if you decide to make a donation, just know who your donation is affecting. It's not just affecting me, but it's affecting people that you don't know about right now, that I don't even know about. There's somebody somewhere going through something in this world and just looking for somebody to help pull them out. And that's what I'm going to do. And we all give at some point in our life, and we all give money. We all do. And all I'm asking is the next time you give, please remember me. Because like I said, not only will your donations help me, but your donations are going to help other people. And for the people who are watching this video who know my heart and know me and know I have a heart for people, the underdog, if you will. And that's just who I am. So I want to thank everybody in advance for donating, even if it's $5, if it's $1, it still adds up, and it's going toward a good cause. It's going towards education. Like I said, I'm putting out my resumes. I will continue to put out my resumes, even to the point where, as far as going and helping people is concerned, I was recently accepted to Bethel University in St. Paul, where my major is going to be organizational leadership with a concentration in human services, which will give me the platform to be able to go into these places and inspire people. That's what we need, is we need inspiration. And I think I believe in my heart, the best thing you can discover in life other than Christ, well, you could even when you find Christ, you have a funny way of finding yourself. And when you know who you are and you operate in your identity, you live a more fulfilling life, and you live just a peaceful life. And it's our job. We get the keys. It's our job to go and pull those up. Because I guarantee you, some people watching this video, y'all may have made it somewhere, but if it hadn't been for people opening doors for you, would you really be there? So again, I just want to say God bless everybody, and sorry for being a little long-winded. And thank you for your donations, and thank you for your support.